this one that I'm super excited to be filming. Admittedly, I wasn't sure that I was going to film or post this video today. Things have been really crazy. I was going to just edit a video I've already got filmed, but I couldn't wait any longer, so I decided to quickly record this, and I hope that you guys enjoy it. Basically what I'm going to be doing today is talking about the book series that I just finished reading, the Hunger Games trilogy. Now, I did not read Hunger Games when it first came out. In fact, I only just now finished reading it. So I know there's probably a lot of reviews. I know that a lot of you have probably already read it or heard about it and know your thoughts on the books, but I wanted to go ahead and do a quick review of what I think about each individual book, as well as a very quick introduction to the new book and my basic non-spoiler thoughts of this book. In the future, I do plan on doing a deeper analysis of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but there is so much to unpack in this book that I have to read it again to regather all of my thoughts and take some notes. So, before I went ahead and reread the book and tried to formulate my thoughts on that, I figured that it would be really fun to give you guys an overview of what I think of the original books, so that you can kind of see if you would like the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes based on if we kind of have the same general opinion of the books, and so you can kind of see if where we align in the original books and the prequel will kind of match up. But yeah, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started into this video, and yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Okay guys, so the first book that we are going to talk about is we're going to start with the very first Hunger Games book, The Hunger Games. So right away I have to say I do enjoy this entire series and I've been really obsessed with it lately, so let's get that out of the way. But as far as an analysis of the book goes, I think that the main character that was chosen, Katniss, is a really interesting character, but I do say I think that the first person perspective was difficult to follow because there was a lot of questions that I had about the outside world of the Hunger Games that we didn't really get to see or pick up on because it was a first person perspective. An example of this is there's only a few tributes that Katniss knows the names to, and because of this we don't know what the tributes' names were. So it takes a little bit of that personal, oh, this is how serious the Hunger Games are, because we don't know everyone, so most of the tributes are just District 12 male tribute, or District, and you get the point. They're really brushed over as to the different characters, because Katniss doesn't remember everything, and the type of personality Katniss is definitely introverted and very to herself, and so I've noticed, and it started mainly in the first book, that not a lot of what she would pick up on would be about other people. A lot of it was more focused on herself. For example, the story that she shares or thinks about, and this memory that she has of Peeta bringing her the bread, we hear that there was a red mark on his cheek from his mother hitting him. But the majority of that story focuses on her receiving the bread and the fact that he gave it to her and how she feels like she kind of owes her life to him. And so I feel like because the narrative was focused on Katniss, there was a lot of missed opportunity for some focus on other characters and a bit of their life. I don't remember any time in the first book where Katniss asks about Peeta's life. I can't really remember in the other books about what Peeta went through, what his family was like, his relationship with his family, because it's very brushed over, it's very focused on Katniss. And I think that is both good and bad, because you definitely get a more personalized, you know, this is this personal character that we have, because you're in that first person perspective of I did this and I did that, so it really connects you to the person. But there's also a lot that this specific narrator missed. I feel like if this book was written in Peeta's perspective, we would have had a lot more detail about other people and other things, because he's much more detail oriented, whereas Katniss is more of a big picture kind of person. I do want to apologize. I'm filming this outside, and I just noticed some of the background noise of like a generator So if you can hear that, I do apologize. I'll try and get rid of that in the ending video. But anyway, real quick side note. But this first book, out of a scale of 10, I would probably rate this book at 8.5 out of 10. I really did enjoy it. Like I said, there was a couple things that I did not like about it, mainly in the sense of there are so many different characters that I would like to have understood better, and I feel like because it was in first person, you missed out on that. You missed out on kind of connecting yourself to other characters. I also feel like there were some moments that were skimmed through in this book, where you didn't really get an understanding of what was happening. For example, the interviews, she brushes through the other people's interviews and there's only focus on her and Peta's, which makes total sense because that was pertinent to the storyline, but it would have been nice to have a little bit more of a glimpse as to the conversations of the others. And I feel like if there was the third-person perspective, some more things would have been explained. But that's my only big real complaint about the series, as well as this particular book. I liked the introduction that it was. This book, I feel you can read the first Hunger Games book and stop there if you wanted to. I don't know why you would, but you can stop there and it concludes itself as a story. So it can either be kind of like just a novel that you read for fun or part of the bigger series. But that's my opinion on the first book. Really good, 8 out of 10. There are a couple things that I personally would have preferred, mainly knowing the names of the other tributes. But either way, that's my only complaint as to book 1. So the next book we're going to talk about is obviously book 2, Catching Fire. I have to be completely upfront. This is probably my favorite book out of the original series. So out of Catching Fire, Hunger Games, and Mockingjay, this is probably my favorite. I really loved being able to see some of the other victors because the first book focused on the tributes, which makes sense. Katniss was a tribute. And this book, it focused on the other victors, and you got to meet characters that became some of my favorite, like Finnick and Joanna and Mags, and you got a little bit more insight as to who Haymitch was. And overall, I find that this book was probably the best written out of the 3 of them. What I love is that Katniss is not aware of the rebellion in this, and I think that's one of the strong points of the book, because you see these tributes trying to protect her, and you're going, why? And it's not till the end that you understand why. There is a rebellion. There is District 13 that is back, where there was a couple rumors that Katniss heard that it wasn't really destroyed, but it's not known until the end of this book that that is exactly what's going on, and a new rebellion has started, and District 13 is alive and succeeding. Something that I also like about this game is this book is that it starts a lot with talking about Katniss's life after the games, but I do feel it breezes through the victory tour too fast. The victory tour is after 6 months, the tributes have to, or the victors of the Hunger Games have to go around and basically brag about the fact that they win, praise the Capitol for winning, talk about how great the Capitol is. And that's really a big part of this book, and yet it's only a few chapters that it's focused on. So I really feel like this book needed to have more of that victory tour. And other than that, it's really great. I also like this book because it's the first time we really hear Snow talk in person. Every other time it's been mentioned of Snow, and it's not until he meets up with Katniss and has that one-on-one conversation that we're able to understand a bit more about Snow. And so everything else has been just, we don't like him because we know that he's the president, but it's not until Catching Fire that we actually hear the way that he talks and his kind of manipulation tactics. And so that's another big thing that this book brings forward that I enjoyed. One thing that I didn't like, particularly about the plot of this book, is the introduction of Gale, Katniss, Peta love triangle. And most of my frustration with this comes in on Mockingjay, so I'll talk about it in a minute. But I just feel like there was some parts of the love triangle storyline that didn't really flow too well, didn't really make sense, and yeah, so Admittedly, I don't remember too much about the first and second book because it took me about a year and a half or longer to read this series between school and everyday life. So it took me a while to finish book 1 and book 2, but I did enjoy them. And for Catching Fire, I would probably give it like 9.5 out of 10 because I really loved this book. So yeah, that's kind of my overview of Catching Fire. It's really good. There's a couple things that I found really interesting, very few things that I didn't like. Once again, it was in Katniss's perspective, so we missed out on a little more detail about the other characters. Once again, some of the victors were not named because Katniss didn't know them. But other than that, book 1 and book 2 are really good, and I loved reading them. It took me a while to read both of them, but I got through them, and I was happy that I read them. So yeah, that's kind of my review of book 1 and book 2. So the last book of the series, Mockingjay. I read this the day that my Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes came out. I wanted to finish the original trilogy before reading the new book, and Mockingjay was the only one I had left to finish. I had a free day, so I binge read this book in a day. I liked parts of Mockingjay, but parts of it I didn't like. I know that's kind of confusing. What I liked about it was many different young adult books. They have the protagonist be the head frontline warrior, but with Mockingjay, Katniss was the propaganda. So we definitely saw a different side of the war with this, we're going to take propaganda shots, but in the end, she was still that warrior. She still fought. She still was in the front lines because she said, this is what I want. Something that I didn't like about this book was, once again, that Gale-Peeta situation, because it's at the beginning of Mockingjay, Katniss realizes how much she cared about Peeta, how much she actually did love him, but she would still spend time with Gale and, kiss him and things like that, and it kind of pulled away from how she really felt about Peeta. And then when Peeta was hijacked and came back, yes, of course, you're not going to try and love someone who's trying to kill you, but I do feel like she gave up on Peeta way too fast. Right after he attacked her, she wrote him off and was like, I don't care about him anymore. And so it made it really confusing and frustrating in the end when she chose Peeta and they lived together in District 12. Gale's character in this book really bothered me. Mainly because while I understood a lot of his points, while I understood that the Capitol was horrible, I feel like he was also very overly aggressive towards them, which I felt was a really strong writing point on Susan Collins' part, because in book 1 we see that he dislikes the Capitol. In book 2 that grows, and in book 3 it grows even more. And I do find that that was really significant for his character because we can see his hatred slowly growing, or at least his ability to hate the Capitol being more prevalent. The next thing I have to say about this book is the ending I wasn't a fan of. I liked the idea of the ending and the writing of the ending, but I don't like how rushed it felt. The war ends, Katniss shoots Coin, she gets sent to District 12, and the majority of the ending pages were how hard life was and how much she was struggling, which I totally understand. She had lost her sister, she was just in this huge war, she didn't know where her life was going. She was falling apart because of all this trauma. And then she has this breakdown with Buttercup, and then she has this breakdown, and then she decides to pull herself up. And it's in like 3 pages that we find out that she's moved on with life. This is what she does to commemorate the victors. This is what she does to cheer herself up. Her and Peeta have kids, and then the book's done. I feel like there's a couple things that remain unanswered. For example, did Katniss ever kind of get let off the hook for shooting Coin? I may have missed it because, like I said, I did read it in a day, and so I finished it super late at night. But, did the president that was voted in ever really realize maybe President Coin wasn't the best? Maybe that's why Katniss did what she did. Okay, you're no longer required to stay in District 12. I also did not like that Katniss completely cut off ties from Gale. I feel like while I understand her not wanting to be buddy-buddies with him again after everything that's happened, after the death of her sister, I do feel like it was kind of terrible, I guess, that he was just cut out completely at the end. I did not like that very much. Let's see, with some of the characters that were brushed over, for example, Finnick. His character had a lot of potential in Mockingjay that I feel like was not developed very well because, once again, it was Katniss's personal thoughts, feelings, experiences, point of view, so we didn't really see a lot of Finnick. But I feel like his character in the books should have been, in this book, should have been developed more. We had a lot of development in Catching Fire where we got attached to Finnick, and then in Mockingjay, we only saw him a few times, and when he died, his death, I mean, I wouldn't be able to find it, I don't have it marked in here, but it was so fast, and had I not known that he died, I probably wouldn't have registered that he did die. I also feel like at the end, when Katniss briefly mentions Annie having her and Finnick's son, that's another point that's super brushed over, and what is that sound? There's a motorcycle. Okay, you guys can probably hear that. This is probably going to destroy the audio, but we will move on anyway. So, there was definitely a couple things in this book particular. I feel like books 1 and book 2, it doesn't really matter that it's in Katniss's perspective, but in book 3, I feel like the Katniss perspective really kind of lacking to the book's potential. I feel like the storyline in this is really good, but that personal perspective kind of threw it for a loop. Other than that, it was a great book. I definitely feel like 8.5 to 9 out of 10. Like, great book. I love it. Still gonna be obsessed with it. I'm actually gonna be rereading these very, very soon. But yeah, I'm obsessed with these books. I do like them, but there are a couple things that I feel like they missed out on, and the perspective is one of them that really damages the book, I feel. First perspective is hard. Once again, for the first 2 books, it worked, but for this book, it's about a war. It's hard to have the narrative of a person who didn't really fight in the war, but who also didn't really understand or want to be a part of the war until closer to the end. So, I do like these books, as I've mentioned multiple times. I've probably said it like 50 times, but this book is probably my second favorite. My favorite books probably go Catching Fire, Mockingjay, and then the first book. Just because I feel like the story in Catching Fire is really great, then the storyline in Mockingjay is really great, and then the first one. But yeah, I do love this series, and I rate the overall series 10 out of 10. Definitely, if you haven't read the books, if you've only watched the movies, read the books. They're so much better. I cannot stress this enough. A lot of my thoughts have flown away out of my head because I read the first 2 books so long ago, and right now my mind is caught up on the new book, so my thoughts of Mockingjay are kind of scattered, but either way, I love these books. And I'm going to briefly talk about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So, quickly, before we leave, this Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. First of all, I have to do a side note. When I bought my Hunger Games books, I bought them with the intent on reading them, and I liked this cover. I didn't realize this cover was paperback when I ordered it, and so now the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is hardcover. I'm probably going to end up rebuying the Hunger Games books, but keeping these ones because, side note here, nobody asked for this, but I did start like sketching little things in it. So like here's like an arrow on the side of the page, because while I love books being crisp and clean, here's some bread when it's talking about Peeta giving her the bread. I also think that I like a little bit of personal touch with the books. So I can't actually sell these, but I think I'm going to be getting a hard copy cover to match this one. Nobody asked for that side note, but let's move on to my non-spoiler review of Ballad and Songbirds and Snakes. So if you've seen the review of the book or the synopsis of the book, it focuses on a young President Snow who is mentoring the girl from District 12. And the idea that his family was really prominent before the war and has lost a lot of their money, and he's trying to get it back. So that's the general premises of this book. And I loved this book. For me, this is the best out of the Hunger Games books. It blows them all out of the water, and the reason why I feel that way is because I love to analyze things, and this book has so much things to analyze. It shows you the beginning of the games, which I always had like this idea that the games were automatically this big show and this big thing, but it shows you how they started and how the districts and capitals viewed them at the very beginning, before all of this pompous circumstances come up. There was a lot of small things that were mentioned. I'll get into this in my future analytical video, but a lot of small things that were mentioned that, while they were not confirmed, they were definitely theory-worthy ideas. The book was also, it's the longest Hunger Games book, I think. One sec. In Mockingjay had, in this book that I have right here, 438 pages. Whereas Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, let me get past all the acknowledgements, had 517, so almost 100 extra pages of analyzing to do. I definitely recommend reading it and keeping an open mind. The protagonist of the story is Snow, so it does focus on Snow. But what I find interesting is how he doesn't start off as the Snow that we know. And there's definitely plugs to his later life, and you can definitely see the exact moment where he becomes who he becomes. And overall, it was just really fantastic of a read. 10 out of 10 recommend it. Like I said, my favorite book of the series. And I can't wait to be able to reread this and take a couple notes and actually put together some theories, thoughts, and a spoiler review of the book. But in the meantime, if you haven't read it, please do, so that when I get to filming that video and posting it, you guys can watch it. And definitely, I'm really excited. I really want to talk to people about these books because my mind is blown. For the longest time, my favorite author was J.K. Rowling and then Rick Riordan, and now it's probably slowly turning to Suzanne Collins, because her writing from the first 3 books to this book has gotten so much better that the writing of it blows it out of the water, and the amount of detail, the amount of small detail that's in Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is wow. I could not believe it when I was reading it. The first, I want to say like 8 or 9 chapters were a little bit slower because it was like that build up. But then there was just one chapter that I started reading and I couldn't put the book down, and I stayed up 4 a.m. finishing the book because it was that good. I have seen a lot of people saying they didn't like it. I'm not sure why. There are some people who didn't like the book. I personally found that it was fantastic, and that's my review. You can kind of get a glimpse of what my opinions are on the first 3 books to know if you like this recent book, but either way, 10 out of 10 recommended. Definitely go buy it. I think there's audiobook versions available on YouTube. If you want to check that out, I don't know the legality of that, if it's correct. I don't know if there's like a way to like rent the book, or if they even have it in libraries right now, but please read the book. I can't wait to talk analytical theories and deeper thoughts about the book. But that is my review of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Like I said, a quick review, but a review nonetheless. But yeah, I really love these books. I'm really glad that you guys can watch this video. I can't wait to post some more Hunger Games related things. I will be doing that because, like I said before, I've gotten really obsessed with it. So S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hunger Games are my 2 big obsessions right now. Definitely read it. I am excited but nervous for Lionsgate's interpretation and movie of the book, and I can't wait till that comes out and we can kind of see how well they did and whether or not it really fit kind of my viewpoint of what the book is. I can't wait to post further videos. I can't wait to see you on Monday for my S.H.I.E.L.D. review, and I will see you then, and I will talk to you guys later, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry for rambling. This is what happens when I don't really talk that much and then I'm allowed to talk. It all comes out at once, but I will end here with saying thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.